We're meeting with Spolsky, and a question I would like to ask you is, what would you say is a good product earning per month for a software company to survive?
It depends on how much money they spend. So they should make a little bit more than they spend every month.
Okay.
But I can tell you per employee, per. How do you want to measure it?
For a company that's a good, successful software company, what is the usual, in your experience? Have you seen in a company surviving very well?
To survive, I would say $100,000 in revenue per employee.
Okay.
And that's sort of a minimum, and then you'll see the range from $100,000 to $200,000 per employee are successful. Probably a little bit less in a low-cost environment. And very few companies get past $200,000 in revenue per employee. The ones that do are like Microsoft and Google. Then that's it, nobody else.
Okay, great. When you started your own business, you said you thought that starting your own business is easy.
No.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I did. I did. I mean, there was one day where I mistakenly thought I knew what I had to do, and that it would be easy.
Okay. Since September 2000, what has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge, we've had a lot of big challenges. Some of them are stupid, like getting good office space is very hard in New York City, and it's hard everywhere actually to get the kind of office space that we want, that's bright, that has good working environment for programmers, and then being able to afford that is very hard when you're bootstrapping and you don't have a lot of venture capital to give you, infinite money to play with. And so that was one of the most frustrating things, is how many months you have to spend looking for that great office space. The other big challenge for me has been creating a sales department of salespeople, which is something I don't know how to do. I'm a developer and a programmer, and I never really knew how to do that. And we were very lucky in the early days that we had a lot of customers who kind of beat a path to our door and knew what our products did and bought them anyway, even without a sales team. So that's something we're now learning how to do, is create a sales team.
Perfect. Then on your blog on the 1st of May, you wrote, Microsoft is vacuuming out all the programmers.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate?
That's a great question, because the first thing you asked is what's the revenue that makes a programmer? The revenue per programmer. That's something that every software company, they don't have any big expenses. It's just salaries, offices, computers, all of those things are linear with the number of people that you hire. And so what a software company looks at every month in their financial numbers is how much are we earning per programmer. That's all they need to know, that divide that number. When Microsoft looks at that number, they get like $1 million. They are literally so far, I think it may be $600,000 to $1 million. They make so much more money per programmer than anybody else except for Google, which is more of an advertising company, that they're a very exceptional kind of company in that way. And if you're in a company like that and you grew up saying, hey, let's just hire, you're always thinking about hiring people to try to make the right amount of revenue per programmer. If you're Microsoft, you look and you say, we don't have enough programmers. We're making too much revenue per programmer. We can afford to hire a lot more. And so they have a ridiculous growing human resources department that tries to vacuum up as many people as they possibly can. A lot of times just to get them off the market, so those programmers won't be creating products that compete against Microsoft. They'll do that sometimes for both Microsoft and Google play this game with very specific people that they want to take away from the competition. But if you go to campus recruiting events and stuff like that, you discover that of the recent college graduates, probably the three biggest, there's several, but Microsoft, Google, to a lesser extent Facebook, are just sort of vacuuming up huge numbers of people at certain schools and making it very difficult to hire. And then they're putting them on projects which are maybe not that beneficial to humanity, but just because they're hiring so many people.
Then what speech can we look forward to for the Business of Software conference in September in Boston?
It's going to be completely different than this speech. I guarantee there won't be a single thing in common except maybe a little bit more. Maybe it might be a little similar. It's a different audience. This is really a Rails development conference. The Business of Software, I'll probably talk about something more business.
And then any new interesting features that we can expect in FogBugs?
Let's see. FogBugs will have lots of new interesting features. The only thing, we don't really talk about our upcoming features or try to pre-announce them. But I can tell you one thing we're working on right now is trying to make it possible to create plugins. Although you can do this sort of a limited API, and it's possible to hack plugins on, and everybody that buys FogBugs gets the source code so they can, with force, create things. We want to have a plugin architecture so that in the future we can ship plugins independently of the main product itself and add new features as time goes on, and even let developers build their own. features for Automats.
Great. That was wonderful. Thank
Thanks.
you very much.
Good questions. Very good research, actually.
Great. Thank you. That was Joe Spolsky and Lisa Felter from Portland, GotThingsDone.com.